Premier League predictions. I'm going to take a look at all of the games in the Premier League this weekend. We have to start off with Arsenal. Their run in the next few weeks, including some of the newly promoted sides, is staggeringly good. And you feel that the currently best side in the country have to capitalise on any weak form that Liverpool could display against the likes of Brentford. Manchester City come up soon as well. You have to say that Arsenal got a very, very clear run. Does it get easier than Crystal Palace? Absolutely not. One of the most informed sides in the Premier League. They are a staggering outfit. Very, very difficult to play against. And you have to say, at home, Arsenal got a massive opportunity to not only beat Crystal Palace, but to look flashy, to look cinematic. The kind of 1-0 win to Fulham last weekend was strong, was sturdy, was ruthless on a physical kind of level, the way they pinned Fulham back. But in this kind of game, I think Arsenal fans will be expecting more va-va-vu, more quality, more control in the game. You do expect the likes of Declan Rice, Eze to be able to outpower that Crystal Palace midfield that sometimes only has two men. Look, Crystal Palace are absolutely superb. They can hit Arsenal on the counter-attack in a big, big way. But you look at what Arsenal can do. For me, Eze's got a big game here. For me, Bukayo Saka, obviously coming back from a light injury a little bit earlier on in the season, he's got to look a little bit sharper, and I think he is getting there week in, week out. And this is the kind of home game where Victor Gyökeres looks a little bit more comfortable. Those away games, he's running the channels, he's a little bit isolated. Maybe they're not quite finding him in the same way. At the Emirates, Arsenal will get more opportunities, whether it's against anyone, even against Bayern Munich in a few weeks. Against Crystal Palace, I think Victor Gyökeres will be looking at it and thinking, I can get a few more goals here. And suddenly, he's actually looking up the table. He's looking at 6, 7, 8 kind of goals if he keeps scoring the next few weeks. And that's not a bad return. 1/3 of the way through the season. Obviously picked up really important goal against Atletico Madrid in the week. They were absolutely scintillating in that game, Arsenal, and it felt that one goal turned into 4. And that is a great sign. It's actually a sign of champions, dare I say it. This kind of inevitability that they're not only going to score and keep that clean sheet that Arsenal have been doing, but 1 doesn't become 2. It feels like 1 becomes 3, 4, 5. It becomes an avalanche. And that's because of the confidence pouring through this Arsenal side. And then you look at the defensive output from Arsenal. They could rotate their entire back line. It would still keep a clean sheet. Seriously, keep David Raya in there. Kepa comes in. Ben White gets a game. Skelly comes in for Calafiori. Bring in Mosquera at centre-back, and they'd still keep a clean sheet. It's that good. I think Urian Timber will come back into the fold. There's a big debate about Lewis Skelly and Calafiori. For me, Calafiori, keep him in there for his physicality. This Crystal Palace side are a big outfit, big unit. I think you keep him in there because I think his Premier League form has been absolutely scintillating. Maybe Skelly is a Champions League left back and Calafiori is a Premier League left back. Maybe that's how it's got to be for the next few weeks. Obviously, a few more games in that Champions League phase, so there's lots of opportunities to rotate. As you can probably suspect, I'm going for a big Arsenal win at home, and you do feel that Arsenal have to capitalise. I think they will. And I actually think by December, if things go their way, they could be looking at 9, 10 points clear at the top of the table. I know these are big question marks. I'm not ruling out Liverpool or Manchester City to catch up, but I have to say, I think Arsenal's run of fixtures is very, very juicy, and arguably it's harder than it will be in the next few weeks when Crystal Palace rock up. I think Arsenal are going to win this game 3-0. That's how confident I think they are. But leave your comments down below. And if you like this format of video, a kind of wider prediction video about the Premier League, make sure you like the video just so I know if it's resonating. Manchester United versus Brighton. This is the game. It's not Liverpool. Bad Liverpool sides beat Manchester United sides, good Manchester United sides, and vice versa. It's a derby. It's a bit like an old firm. It's a bit like an El Clasico. But Brighton is a game at home where their record in the last few seasons has been absolutely unbelievable for Brighton. Brighton smashed Manchester United in the last 3 seasons at Old Trafford. So firstly, Amorim has to stop that. I think a draw isn't the worst result in the world to build some momentum. But if you're being completely ruthless about Manchester United, where they are, with the form and the quality of some of these players, they have to be looking to not only beat Brighton, but they should be looking to put a massive imprint on Brighton and push away from them in the table. They're 1 place above them in the Premier League table right now. I think Sesko, bring him back in. Cunha, very, very special player. I think someone like Dorgu as well could do a lot of damage. I think for me, the players I've just mentioned, and then you throw in Bruno, then you throw in someone like Kobbie Mainoo, who I think could definitely play in this kind of game, should be starting these kind of games more often than he is. I think Man United will keep more of the ball. They'll push Brighton back. I think the 3-4-3 does work at points, and you can get at this Brighton side. They're a very good ball-playing side. If the Man United press doesn't work, if Brighton play through the press, then Man United are in a world of pain. I do feel that Danny Welbeck is scintillating form at the start of the season, looking for an England call-up. He could nick a goal here. It wouldn't rule me out. And obviously, Man United were linked to Danny Welbeck in the summer. I think Brighton will score. It's not going to be the perfect result for Manchester United, but I am backing Man United to make it 3 in a row, which would be a very nice return on what was such a poor start to the season. I actually think they're going to win 2-1, but I'm never going to put money on Man United winning a game of football with Ruben Amorim. I just don't know where they are. I think they have to, with the confidence. They have to be sensible. They have to be pragmatic. But I think Manchester United will beat Brighton. Brentford versus Liverpool. This is a really tricky game for Liverpool because Brentford are direct. They're physical. They are confident. I thought they looked very, very good against a really poor West Ham side. Thiago up front. He looks like a powerhouse. I feel like he's the next big striker to leave Brentford or forward and go to a big, big club in the next few years. Maybe not next summer, but maybe the season after. And he could do a lot of damage to this Liverpool back line. That being said, the Liverpool back line looked a lot more sturdy, a lot more confident. It might be a back line that has no protection in terms of Gravenberch. It might have maybe other rotations ahead of them. No Isaac, potentially as well injured. But I think that's a good thing. I think this Liverpool side have to go into the Brentford game and just be happy on some level that Isaac isn't a point of contention in the starting 11. Isaac, for me, has to come off the left, Ekitike down the middle. Then you can play Wirtz on the right. You can play Salah on the right if you fancy it. If Frimpong's back to full fitness, not sure where he is, Frimpong can play on the right. And then Gakpo off the left. I think that's a lot more balanced. I think Ekitike floating around just doesn't work. He has to play down the middle. He has to be starting football matches. And he'll have more than enough quality to score against Brentford. If you look at Ekitike's goal catalogue for Liverpool, which is a very small sample size, some of the finishes, I mean, the one against Frankfurt was sensational. But the range of scoring this guy has, the silky finish, he's a beautiful footballer, Ekitike. I'm probably the biggest fan of Ekitike outside of Liverpool Football Club going. I think he's going to start this game. I think he's going to score. I think the Liverpool midfield, whether it's Curtis Jones, who I thought was absolutely superb in the Champions League. I think Andy Robertson, I think you've got to keep him in there for the experience. Yes, Jordan Henderson will be looking to hurt his former side and show them what they're missing. But I think Liverpool will be far too good for Brentford. I thought Brentford get relegated. They're currently above Newcastle. They're above Fulham. They're above Nottingham Forest and West Ham. And Wolves, so they're doing very, very well relatively, Brentford, with Keith Andrews, a very young manager. I think Liverpool win the game, but it's not going to be easy. Maybe last year it would have been easy, but this year, no. Aston Villa versus Manchester City, this is tricky. Villa looked really strong last week against Tottenham. Morgan Rogers scoring an outstanding goal. But this Manchester City side is a side that's turned the tables. The tables have turned. Haaland is on this kind of unbelievable goal-scoring record. I think you build around Haaland. You try and get Nico Gonzalez in there for a bit of protection. Reinders, Foden, Cherky. I want to see more of him against Villa. He was absolutely sensational last week. Came on for 5 minutes. For me, it is all about that midfield. Protect the centre-backs. Gvardiol's having a great season. Donnarumma having a great start to his life with Manchester City. Protect the back line. Protect the net. Copy Arsenal. Arsenal are the best side right now in England. They're the best side, one of the best sides in Europe. What are they doing? They're playing 4-3-3. They sprint to get behind the ball when they lose it. They've got no ego in terms of if they lose the ball, how they react as a big side. They act like they're Stoke City off the ball, but they act sometimes like they're prime Manchester City on the ball, the way they move it sometimes, Arsenal. Not quite there yet, of course. Man City have to go to that level. Man City have to go back to being hungry off the ball, working really hard at Villa Park, and trying to defend with 11 men, a bit like at the Emirates. I think that's where a clean sheet will come, and that's why I think Haaland will score again. You can't, basically, I think the way Haaland's form's going, it's so special, it's so unique. You basically say what will happen in the game outside of Haaland scoring. Haaland scores, will Villa score 1 to match that? And that's how good Erling Haaland is. He gives you a kind of handicap, or the opposition a handicap. I'm not sure how it works. So ultimately, Aston Villa will lose the game because of Erling Haaland's brilliance. Will it be a beautiful, perfect performance? No. But I think Manchester City will win the game and put massive pressure on Arsenal this week. 100%. Chelsea versus Sunderland. It's a very interesting period of time for Chelsea. They're obviously 5th at the moment, just behind Bournemouth. They're doing bits without Cole Palmer. And you have to say that Caicedo's in some of the best form I've ever seen from a Chelsea midfield in the last few years. A defensive-minded one since when? N'Golo Kante, and they won the league in 2017, the last time they won the league. So Caicedo's single-handedly guiding them through big games. I think they're going to get enough quality against Sunderland. I think Sunderland in these big games have been shown to be a little bit off of it. They've still got so many new players that I think the quality of the new signings for Reggie Lebree's side will get them over the line in so many games. That's why they're one of the most impressive newly promoted sides in recent years. Currently 7th. Fair play. They've already matched and beaten Southampton's points total from last season. Against Chelsea, against Manchester United, against Man City away, Liverpool away. Are they going to have that quality? I'm not entirely sure because they're still gelling. Maybe next year they can build upon it. And I'm sure they will. And their fans will want them to. But right now, Chelsea away, I think it's a stretch too far. I think Chelsea are going to win that game 1-0 actually. I think Man City will win the game 2-1 if I didn't give a score prediction for that. Newcastle versus Fulham. Fulham starts the season. It feels very poor. It's gone right under the radar. Just outside the relegation zone at the moment. Not too many new signings coming in. I know the lad from Shakhtar's come in, but you look at Fulham and Marco Silva being touted as a new Nottingham Forest manager before Sean Dyche has gone in. It looks a little bit flat. They're one of those sides that could really creep into trouble, Fulham, if they're not careful and not ambitious. And you're not quite sure about the ownership with Fulham. Are they going after the big targets that their fans might want? I think Newcastle will win this game. Voltemada in unbelievable form. You would say Newcastle, despite the quality of some of their Voltemada performances, Harvey Barnes in recent weeks, I think Alanga's been good for them, despite maybe numbers not alluding to that. They're currently 14th, below Brentford and Everton. So Eddie Howe has to start getting wins, and I'm sure he will, because a lot of these players are fit for Newcastle. I know they're dealing with Isak leaving, etc. But a lot of this Newcastle United side is fit, and they're making a few mistakes, and it's costing them in a big way in their current league form. I think they'll beat Fulham. I mean, Fulham don't go to Newcastle and win this game, do they? Let's be real. I'm going 2-0 Newcastle United. Leeds versus West Ham. I'm feeling 0-0 written all over this. Not impressed with either of the sides, but Nuno will eventually start building confidence with his West Ham United side. Wolves Burnley. I mean, this is a 6-pointer, isn't it? I think both sides could get relegated. I'm more impressed with Burnley for obvious reasons. Currently outside the relegation zone with massive credit to Scott Parker. But Wolves at the foot of the table. They have to be looking to win this game. Their fans are going to go into meltdown if they don't at least score a couple of goals against Burnley in this game. Everton versus Tottenham. I actually fancy Everton in this game. Tottenham have dipped a little bit. They weren't convincing in the Champions League last week in the Premier League. They weren't convincing against Aston Villa. I think Everton at home, the stadium's becoming a little bit of a fortress for me, and I actually feel that Everton are going to win this game. If they didn't have Beto, I'm not even saying I'm not saying they deserve a striker like Ekitike at Liverpool. Of course not. They're a little bit below that, but some of the even an Ollie Watkins playing for Everton, they'd be in the top 6. Some of the chances that he gets put into Beto, and he can't even bury anything. It's embarrassing, really. Against Manchester City last weekend, he was missing some open nets. It was shocking. Beto, for me, has to come out of this Everton side. Give Barry more of a chance. I mean, if you're an Everton fan, let me know why Barry's not playing more football. But Everton, I think, will still win this game. Bournemouth versus Forest. What a juicy game. Sean Dyche's first game. I can't believe he's fallen upwards. He's fallen into a more lucrative job than Everton in terms of where Nottingham Forest want to be, the fact that Nottingham Forest are in Europe, the fact that their owner is a touch more ambitious than what Everton have been able to do in the transfer market in recent years, probably down to the failings of Mashiri. But somehow he's left Everton and joined a bigger, more richer project. So you've got to say fair play to Sean Dyche. I think he's going to struggle in this game. I think Bournemouth will absolutely tear up Forest. And you're looking at Semenyo as the in-form player outside the big 6. He's the best player in the Premier League by a country mile. And I think he's going to absolutely rip up Nottingham Forest in their back line. Lots of injuries in their back line as well. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about my predictions. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you very soon.